in like a year probably. Come back to normal, finally getting back. Honestly, the writing was not really good.
Sorry for the sore throat. In between
Hey everyone. I would like to make kind of a confession about what's going on and probably give some advice to younger authors. So, I'll admit, I'll never say my real name because, to be honest, I still want, like, a bit of privacy, especially online. But I can say that my age, it's specifically I'm a senior in high school. I've only been 18 for a few months. And obviously you can imagine I started writing when I was 15. Specifically during the COVID pandemic. It's always been a life passion for me, but obviously with COVID, everything being shut down, it gave me at least a little bit of much more time to actually like make short stories and post them online. And however, recently, especially when COVID restrictions started to slowly dissipate, obviously things began to come back to normal, finally getting back into school, finally getting kind of like a proper schedule, and, things opening up, thus giving me more opportunities. And I still wanted to go a little bit into my writing passion, but, well, let's just say there have been other things I have been passionate about. I'm, for one thing, part of my school orchestra. I play the violin, and I'm a swimmer and a golfer. And during those times, considering that when I go to college, it may be the last I do of those, it kind of causes some problems, obviously, of trying to divide up my time. Obviously, with sports, that's a very time-consuming activity. I think hopefully any athlete would relate to what I'm saying. And plus you have grades, tests coming up, and you want to remain good in order to actually get into good colleges. So that created a bit of a problem with wanting to write, specifically writing my first novel. Like, it was originally going to be a Mad Queen of Imagination, but then when I started to kind of struggle with that, I think it was specifically during 2022, later that year, it was obviously I started to realize, if I want to end my senior year on a good year, all these like sports on a good year, then I have to actually make a sacrifice here. And that sacrifice ended up being specifically that novel, and it got ditched. So I think with this kind of my whole experience with attempting to write when I was just a teenager during COVID, and then having my life sort of come back when COVID was obviously, for the most part, just kind of more of a inconvenience rather than a straight up everything has to shut down for it kind of thing. It kind of taught me that in life, when you become an adult less of a child, is that you have to make sacrifices and definitely give yourself what is most important in your life. And honestly, it's kind of something I wish I could have maybe known beforehand. Obviously, if you look at all the YouTubers, or more or less like the writer tubes, I might be screwing up like what that's actually supposed to mean, but yeah, I think it's just they don't really give that advice, because obviously I'm assuming that they're assuming anyone who's watching their videos, they're about like 18 and not 15. So, and I'm hoping that maybe with my life I could give maybe as much bearer of wisdom as somebody who's barely an adult herself, that you've got to manage life. You gotta see what is most important to you. And sometimes that means that what you previously wanted in life is not actually what you wanted, or more accurately, what you needed, and that you have to sometimes realize that maybe and stuff you may not want to go down this path, or even in a more accurate light, you will eventually go down this path, but not right now. You don't have the time or maturity to do that kind of thing. And I'm not just talking about writing. I'm talking about maybe even being like a YouTuber or a game developer or something like that. So that's kind of, I just say to any young writers, if you're about like, I don't know, 15, because that was around the time I started to write, just be reasonable with yourself, and just try to be reasonable with splitting your time between like school and some outdoor activities or your friends and all that kind of jazz, because you need some time to grow yourself. And that might actually also help your writing, because let's be honest here, I think a large part of the reason I also partially decided not to continue writing the Mad Queen of Imagination was, honestly, the writing was not really good, and I would like to have my skills improve in a different direction, and more of looking slightly more professional before I just shove it out to the world. That kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay, so my plan, sorry for the sore throat, in between I caught a cold, a pretty nasty one, so my plan honestly now is I think I'm just going to take a much more vague direction as school begins to lessen down for me. Probably I'm planning to do some publishing work, probably will continue posting on my written work on places like Tumblr and Wattpad. I even have a story, Sacrifice Under a Clip, on Wattpad. Now, I know it's like Wattpad's a place of like weird, terrible fanfic-y places, but it's at least a start. So yeah, I think I'm slowly learning how to get my life in a nice and coherent pattern. So